Today I'm going to share with you, well, sharing, it's not the right word now because I'm not sharing this very well, but anyways, this co-creation for environmental awareness in the popular art of Rio de Aveiro tries to explore the intersections of cultural heritage, co-creation, as you can see, art and sustainability. And I'm going to analyze how communities experience and address climate change through the lens of the natural and cultural ecosystem of the Portuguese Rio de Aveiro, more specifically through the analysis of the painted and written panels of the Moliceiro boat. Specifically, I'm talking about the traditional wooden boat that sails in the large lagoon estuary of River Voga on the northwest coast of Portugal. The Moliceiro boat was primarily and traditionally built for gathering and transporting seaweed in the Rio de Aveiro's largest section, and that seaweed would be used for fertilizing the sandy soils in subsistence agriculture. However, nowadays, the Moliceiro boat survives as a mere touristic attraction, as you can see in the bottom right image. And it sails, well, literally it sails with the outboard motor and no sail at all in the small central canals of Aveiro city. And this is, nowadays, it's a mere touristic asset for guided tours because, you know, Aveiro is a flourishing city with thousands of tourists every day. Having said this, I have two questions to answer in this presentation. And my standpoint is this quote by Professor Claude Rival, who was the first academic to explore the value of the Moliceiro boat and their panels. And when he writes that a population that paints their boats and launches them into the waters of a lagoon creates an album of images that express their vision of the world, we can look at this vision of the world and use it to try to answer two questions. What are the practices from the past that we want to take into a sustainable future? And how can we foster transformation from the inside of communities and change hegemonic narratives? All this by listening to boats. This is a very metaphoric way of saying this, and also by seeking inspiration and advice in the popular art of these small, powerless, I would say, communities. So, the Moliceiro of Rio de Aveiro has got this incredible, unique characteristic, and I'm specifically mentioning their painted and written panels, and they are 4 different panels with the respective caption on each boat. And this is a rather unknown artistic expression that is co-created by the community, for the community, and it's free and mobile by nature. I've been working on this for decades now, and I was able to collect nearly 1,000 images of different panels, which is, well, which is really something very precious, at least for my research. And I was able to organize these panels in 5 main groups with several subcategories. And in a nutshell, humorous, religious, social, historical, and about entertainment. However, today I'm going to focus on subcategory of social panels that address local heritage and, above all, ecological conditions, environmental issues. This is my standpoint, and I'm reading. The cultural practices of the agro-maritime Moliceiro community and their boats are closely related to the unique ecosystem of Rio de Aveiro, which has been facing all sorts of environmental threats for decades. Related popular artistic expressions emerge as co-creative actions of political protest and environmental activism within a local referential frame that combines global environmental concerns with the local challenges faced by communities. The art forms of the Moliceiro culture have been expressing the environmental claims and concerns of the community for decades, both within the current climatic emergency and the recent past of slowly emerging ecological awareness. These co-creative artistic practices give voice to the authentic concerns of the community, identify those they hold responsible, and point out possible solutions in a grass-rooted approach. And this is so important to have a grass-rooted approach, a bottom-up approach instead of a top-down one. However, and because they are grassroots, they are widely ignored by the political and intellectual elites, well, by all stakeholders mostly, and because they impose their viewpoints instead of listening to the communities and their ancestral knowledge of the territory. And as you can see here, we have a very illustrative image. Let's save the Ria. That's what we have here. That is the caption beneath this beautiful image of a traditional Moliceiro sailing with a beautiful canvas sail and loaded with seaweed as it used to be some decades ago. I would say this image could have been painted in the 60s, for instance, in 1960s, and this would be the perfect image of how the Moliceiro would work and sail in the Rio de Aveiro. So going straight to the point now, as we can see here, what are the environmental concerns that the Moliceiro refers expresses? We can see here, cadê o moliço? Where is the seaweed? Also the need to protect, and this is the issue of water pollution. We also have the need to protect the dunes natural reserve, and you see here the top left image. We can read surveillance must be done every day. I'm translating the captions, and the surveillance must be done every day and not only during the forest fires summer season when everything burns here in Portugal because of forest fires. It's a problem that we are facing every summer, more and more and more. And on your right side, we have the need to control deforestation and reforest. And this deforestation sometimes follows the forest fires or is simply carried out by the wood industries, wood and paper industries, which is also another problem. And this image is quite interesting because the caption reads, "Don't cut down nature, help planting it," and it's illustrated by an image of the Virgin of Fatima among cut down trees. And this is the first instance where we see religion and ecological messages mixed up. We'll be talking about that soon. Another set of images help us cleaning, well, clockwise, help us cleaning the Ria, and the actual place to do so that is easily identifiable by those who know the area. You can see here, this is the rural area of Mortosa in the widest section of the lagoon, crossed by the iconic Bridge of Varela. And then we have the Ria's Misery, also with the Bridge of Varela in the background, so that we can perfectly identify the spot where the Ria is more polluted and really needed to be cleaned. Then, moving on, we have Don't Let the Salt Pans Die and Remember the Past in the lower section, because it's also important to preserve the traditional production of salt in the salt pans of the Lagoon of Aveiro, as we can see here. Next, and again, on the same landscape, again, the Bridge of Varela in the background, and this is the first case where the environmental message is associated, and in a rather clumsy or even disconcerting way, with a religious figure, such as in here, Saint Francis of Assisi, on the sitting on the polluted margins near the Bridge of Varela, again, surrounded by animals, and the caption reads, "Not even with miracles." So pollution is still prevailing over miracles. The protection of Saint Joan, the legendary saintly princess of Aveiro, half historical, half religious, is also evoked for the environmental conditions of the Ria. Here you can see, "My saint, please protect the Ria," Saint Joan, protector of the Ria de Aveiro, or on the right side, "If it weren't for me, the Moliceiro would have already died." These are both religious and ecological panels, and also historical, because all of them are like trying to reproduce with different talent a similar portrait of this legendary princess, that actually this portrait actually exists in a local museum. So it's interesting to see how the capacities of the painter vary according to the talent, but they all refer to the same historical character. And again, they both, all of them, they imply that the environmental situation of the Ria needs an actual miracle. And here we have Luís de Camões, symbol of national cultural heritage, the national poet. And he says, gravely says, although in a quite humorous way, I have already closed one eye so as not to see the state of the Ria. And why? Because according to the legend, Luís de Camões, the poet of the 16th century, is blind of one eye, so he closes the eye so not to see the pollution. On the right side, you have an interesting contrast, because if you have Luís Camões, a symbol of national cultural heritage, you have on the right side the Ria itself, the map, the natural map of the Ria, as a symbol of local cultural heritage. And that local cultural heritage must be valued and celebrated above political divides, because we can read here in a very cunning way 11, um, 11 counties, one sole RIA. So one single RIA. We have 11 counties with different political leaders, with different political parties in power, but the RIA is just one. It belongs to us all, and it's part of our local cultural heritage, and it's got to be preserved. Panels also express concerns with the boat itself, with its own sustainability and the need to, and again clockwise, don't end tradition, don't let tradition die. And well, that repeats and repeats again. Don't let tradition die. Don't end tradition again. Moliceiro, the first historical boat. Don't let tradition die again. So you have here this appeal illustrated by image of the boat itself sailing with a sail loaded with seaweed in its natural landscape, and also on the bottom left image, the traditional launching of a new boat carried to the shore by ox carts with characteristic painted yokes as well. So again, images of the past and of sustainability issues and environmental issues again and again. And again, we have here the divine protection of Our Lady of Safe Journey, combined with the natural landscape and the appeal, Moliceiros don't end this beautiful tradition. And I understand that this constant resorting to popular religion, to popular faith, illustrates how the community knows that nobody will listen to their concerns. The community understands how powerless they actually are, because the benefit of politicians, polluting industries, and tourism always prevails until now. It's always a sign. Therefore, to conclude, and I'm almost wrapping up this presentation, you have this beautiful image again. It was like this once upon a time, era assim antigamente. This means it was like this once upon a time in the past. So again, you can see the Moliceiro loaded with seaweed being transported to the margin, and you have here the ox cart ready to transport the seaweed, then to dry it and to use it to fertilize the field, the soil for agriculture. So a perfect image of the past. It used to be like this once upon a time. And it is why with this example, I want, and this is why I'm always sharing this, trying to share this idea as much as possible, because I want to share this with other researchers in order to try to establish a method that can be applied to other ignored or silenced artistic practices with an environmental concern, by local communities in other territories that are facing similar threats. Thus, we would be combining art and science, nature and culture for climate action by listening to the views on sustainability expressed through co-creative art, be it visual, music, poetry, storytelling, any art, form of art, but produced by actual societal actors. And if you just in this small brief presentation, if we listen to the boats, to the communities, and to their art, we can find several solutions that have been pointed out in these few slideshows. And I'm going to list them down, and they were quite evident, I think. What are the solutions for the environmental problems, for the ecological, environmental, and sustainability problems of this specific landscape, of this specific ecosystem? First, Use seaweed as field fertilizer instead of chemicals. Preserve the Moliceiro's original function, reforest. Communities should be actively acting as fire watcher all year round. Clean the lagoon in the most polluted spots. Keep traditional boat building. Use local wood and sustainable techniques. Keep traditional production of salt in natural salt pans because it's profitable, it sells a lot. Unite political powers and stakeholders, and recognize the value of local culture and seriously apply for UNESCO heritage. That is another problem because political actors they don't get together seriously enough in order to proceed with application that has been going on and on and on for years now. If you are interested in this research, there is an ongoing project that is open access online museum of all the images that I have been capturing along these decades of field work. So if you visit this link, it's still ongoing. We have a Portuguese and English version. And what do you have? You have the Moliceiro culture, the cultural ecosystem of Rio de Aveiro, organized with images about the Moliceiro boat and the respective landscape. All the panels that I have photographed so far, organized according to the categories and subcategories that I came up with during my research, and also image archive with images from printed sources, from all sorts of archives from the past in general. So this is a ongoing project, open access museum of contemporary and past images about the Moliceiro culture. Quite interesting going on. So please visit, change, well, try to disseminate if possible, and of course share your ideas, and because this really needs to be improved. If you are interested, some references that I've been working on a long time, so I'll be more than happy to share because some of them are in open access as well. And again, this is me, the center that I work at. And I hope that you have enjoyed my presentation. And now I'm going to stop sharing